So I tell my partner, like, let's go fuck on the huge mattress downstairs. That's like, it's like a boxing ring size. And everyone's like watching. And, you know, there are people watching. But we start doing the kind of thing that we were doing more of at home at the time, which is like, stop, no, and like a little bit of play fighting. And me being completely oblivious to play party etiquette and not knowing that if people hear a woman saying no and stop, they're going to intervene, which they did. And I was like, just kidding. It was a joke. Like, no. I was just playing. Like, this is just my thing. And I was like, oh, God.
But first, a word from our sponsors.
When your mission is beyond missionary, step up your game with Liberator. Their collection of transformable sex furniture and sex toy mounts will put you in sexual positions you never thought were possible. Use promo code MANWHORE and save 40% off the best-selling Wedge Ramp combo at Liberator.com. It's always the right time of year to spice up your sex life. Use promo code BLISS to get 15% off your next toy at Casa Anika. That's promo code BLISS at CASA-ANICA.com.
Welcome to the Man-Whore Podcast.
Shout out to the fan whores, to the whoreheads, to the pod sluts and the audiophiles. This is Billy Procida, and you're listening to the Man-Whore Podcast. What's up? Welcome to my series of sex-positive conversations coming at you for, well, now nearly 10 years. Yes, that 10-year podiversary is coming up in a couple months, folks. I think we got to have a party. What if I collaborate with Hacienda for a sex party where you get heavily discounted admission if you show that you are subscribed to the show and have left 5? I don't know. This is a marketing meeting right now. Clearly not this week's episode with Rena Martine. Yes, this is Rena's episode. I'll deal with the marketing meeting alone in a room with a joint and a big pad. Rena Martine is on the show this week. She is an intimacy coach and educator and author. She has a book out called The Sex You Want. I've listened to her on other podcasts, and she's talked a lot about her polyamory origin story, but it was really cool to get into her poly present, where we talk about the bisexuality. We talk about a lot about play parties. And I'm going to share that conversation with y'all in just a little bit. But first, dates of shows formerly hereto known as show dates. Shout out to everyone who came out to Impact over the weekend. That was such a fun time. This Friday, though, we have the Naked Comedy shows coming back to Hacienda. We have 8 and 10 o'clock lineup. Super fun time. There's going to be a pair of family members on stage together during this one at the 8 o'clock show. So come on out. There are still some tickets available, like less than 20 or less than 15 tickets are available for each show. So like you really should go click the link in the schnotes. Why am I even giving you a discount code? But yes, if you're listening, you can use the promo code SLIPPERS for $5 off your tickets. This will sell out. And then next weekend, Thursday, February 29th, I have Not the Naked Comedy Show. What a concept. That's on the Lower East Side at Lucky Jack's. Ticket link for that also up there in the schnotes. At Impact, there were 3 different women in the audience I've done things with. One of whom ended up hanging out after the show. We dated from like late 2022 to early 2023. And I never really got clarity about like exactly what it is that went down and like why things went down. And we kind of like accidentally did the fucking podcast just while playing pool at a bar, which is a synchronicity because the first night we met and had like a crazy long night out having drinks, we did end up playing pool till the wee hours of the morning. I don't know what the weirdest reason you've been told that somebody didn't want to have sex with you anymore, but I never thought that my lack of eating vegetables was going to be so explicitly a reason given. I forget how we got there, but I think we eventually got to the question of, so like, when did you stop being sexually attracted to me? And she just realized I didn't like to eat vegetables, and it really, really dried her up. It was two things. She's like, you don't eat enough vegetables, and you have to stop coming on the floor. By which she means, like, when I masturbate, she's like, you have to stop coming on the floor when you jerk off, because it's not like when we were fucking, I would like pull out and then jizz on the floor. I don't have a weird floor fetish. I shouldn't say weird. If you have a floor fetish, that is fine and valid, but like, your weird fetish is not my weird fetish, and that's okay. So she's like, you have to stop jacking off onto the floor, and you don't get enough fiber in your diet. And those were like the two very serious and only reasons I was given so far. I am sure we will get into it because she has also agreed to do the podcast. Like, so we're going to do what we did Saturday night, but like longer form, recorded, like the good old days of this show. It's weird because she said that you don't eat enough vegetables. I'm eating green beans a lot now. For those of y'all who watch my Instagram story, you know that Billy is a cooking fiend. And when I was in Los Angeles, hold your fucking dicks, everybody, but someone here ate pad thai for the first time. Yeah, okay. So no more fucking snark, Rhonda, about Billy's diet. Billy doesn't eat vegetables, okay? I ate pad thai. I think there was vegetables somewhere in all of that. So middle fingers in the air, okay? I'm a 34-year-old man who will try foods. The Fan Whore Appreciation Moment is that time of the show where I like to give a shout out to members of my Fan Whore community on Patreon. Patreon is the best way you can support me and the Man Whore podcast with not just your downloads, but also your dollars. And yes, I did check with the landlord. She ain't taking downloads. She would like still cash, but I am holding out that at some point downloads or free promotional condoms will become currency, because then like I'm set up. But for now, your dollars are what keeps this show going, and I like to show that appreciation by saying thank you to Erin Town. Hope you're enjoying your poly commune down there. Welcome to the champagne room. Hope to see you pipe in a little more. And thank you so much to David Calkins. Buddy, let's get you in that peep show, okay? Let's complete that process. Hit me up. You too can become a member, support the pod, enjoy a slew of great rewards, including an invite to tomorrow's hot movie night. We'll be watching the 1976 Alice in Wonderland porno. I am terrified for so many reasons. Mary Beth's going to like this one. I just have a feeling. I don't know. I think she's going to dig it. Become a member today. Support the pod you love at patreon.com/manwhorepodcast. That's Patreon, patreon.com/manwhorepodcast. Rena Martine. This was part of my series of Los Angeles recordings while I was out on the West Coast recently. Her book, The Sex You Want, is newly out on shelves. There's a link in the schnotes if you want to get it at my bookshop.org link. When you order books from bookshop.org, not only does it get your books from an independent bookstore, but they also throw some dollars Billy's way. And that's a great way to just support indie. Anyways, I'll talk about play parties and sexual compatibility right now with Rena Martine. I've been doing this job almost 10 years. I like to think I have a decent grasp on what's out there on the sexual marketplace. Like, even if it's something's not for me, I like to think that my fingers are on, or like maybe really deep in the pulse of what's out there to liberate your sex lives. But every time I go to Liberator's website, I feel like I'm learning something new. I'm discovering new things to make sex more comfortable, more pleasurable, more fun. I mean, right now I'm looking at this thing, the Scoop Rocker combo. It's this half moon pillow shape, and then they have an extra wedge ramp on top of it, and it's got cuff connectors, like 4 cuff. I look at this, I see possibilities. And that's how I feel when I look at all of Liberator's sex furniture. I just go like, oh, I wonder, like, is that going to help me get deeper inside her? I think so. And Liberator offers more than just sex furniture. They also offer bondage gear, sex toys, sex toy mounts, which again is a thing I didn't know existed. A sex toy mount is like a nice pillow, but then there's like a hole in it that's structured to fit a wand vibrator, so all you pillow humpers can do it better. Squirters. Hey, squirters. They got squirter blankets too. They call them waterproof throw blankets, but it's a squirting blanket, and we all know that. Fan Whore Nation can enjoy a special deal. Get 40% off their best-selling Wedge Ramp combo when you click the link in the schnotes and use promo code MANWHORE. Casa Anika, get yourself a new sex toy today. Casa Anika, bend me over and call me baby. Yes, our sponsor this week is Casa Anika. It's been a minute since you've opened a box and excitedly tried to figure out, like, fuck, how do I charge this? Do I need an adapter? Is it the USB? Man, when this thing is charged, it's going to fuck me up. Now is always the right time to get yourself something sexy, something new. And Casa Anika has products from all of your favorite sex toy companies. Dame, Lilo, Jejui, Love Ends. They even have that clit-sucking rose thing from the TikTok commercials. If you want it, they've got it. And Casa Anika is offering Fan Whore Nation a special discount, 15% off your next order when you use promo code BLISS at casa-anika.com. One more time, that's promo code BLISS at casa-anika.com.
When we met, we both kind of identified as solo poly, and that was new for me. But for him, he's like, I've been pretty much doing this most of my adult life. And so our relationship in terms of like what ENM, ethical non-monogamy, looks like for us has evolved over time, and now we're pretty poly and pretty open and transparent about how we live and how we love, and it's fucking awesome.
Yeah, especially after coming out of the marriages that I've heard that you did.
Yes, trial and error. I mean, yeah, exactly.
So now, are you doing more polyamory now?
Yeah.
Okay, so I think what I heard you on a couple years back said, ooh, the poly thing, that's a scary one. I stay like this. I like to just do the non-monogamy. I want to fuck around. I don't want to love around. But sounds like that's changed. What changed?
Yeah. Okay. Well, what changed was that last year, in spring of last year, and just leading up to that point, we were kind of in a place where we would, for the most part, date together and kind of date women together. And sometimes, he would have a date with them. Sometimes I would have a date with them. And that was kind of how we were doing that at that time. And then I met someone on my own, and I was like, this isn't just someone like I want to hook up with. This isn't someone I want us to date. This is somebody I really like, and I want to date this person, and I like her. Like I really like her. And that was fucking terrifying for me. I mean, very scary and really hard because I hadn't had that level of like and interest with anyone in years since I had met him. And he's just so wonderful. And he was like, okay, I'm not going to tell you you can't, but let's talk about what this means for us. And so from there, we started gently opening up some more, and here we are today. And I date people, and he dates people, and he has his people, and I have mine, and everyone knows about each other, and we're all cool with each other, and it's pretty awesome. But last year we had to have a lot of really, really hard conversations, and the conversations, those hard ones, are now further and fewer in between. But anytime you're talking about anything other than monogamy, it's going to involve so much processing and so much talking and renegotiating and things come up and saying, okay, well, what is this hitting on and why am I bothered by this? A lot of self-reflection, sometimes some arguing, and sometimes some tit for tat. And you're forced to have the conversations. And in monogamy, a lot of folks are like, no, it's just to set it and forget it. We don't need to talk about it. And then they get to the point where the car is smoking on the side of the freeway because they haven't done the routine maintenance. And there you go.
Like, what was one really difficult conversation y'all had to have while making that transition last year?
I mean, there's so many, but I'll pick one, which was, hey, how would you feel about like me going out of town with someone else, right? Or when he first discovered that I had had a sleepover that kind of like went late into the day. That was a hard one. Okay, let's go with that.
Yes.
Because this is with somebody who I'd been seeing for quite a bit, and he and I we live separately, and he lives right around the corner from me, which I highly recommend. But no, I think at like 1 p.m. and I didn't want to be rude, and he and I both understand like, hey, let's be present when we're on dates with each other and not necessarily text other people, and let's be present when we're
Love that one.
dates with other people too. And
Monogamous or not, by the way. Love that rule.
yeah,
We're at dinner together. Why are you texting your friends?
right.
I'm not texting my friends. I'm not checking the score of the game. Let's be here.
And, exceptions to every rule, but like, yeah, within reason. And sometimes we'll be like, hey, do you mind if I check my phone for a few minutes? And that's fine too. But I had not checked my phone because I was trying to be present. And then like 12:30 p.m. rolls around and he's like, are you okay? Because he had not heard from me. And he'd been like, good morning and this and that. And I was like, oh yeah, I'm not going to say her name, but so-and-so just left. And I think his mind went to this is me guessing that his mind went to, oh my God, they've just been fucking all morning kind of thing. When in reality, that had not been the case. We were like having coffee and bullshitting. I think we watched some TV, like we were just hanging out. And so he was like, I just wasn't prepared to know that you were, there was a sleepover and then you two spent the whole day together. And now, not a big deal. And he kind of knows, like, okay, if somebody's staying the night, Rena will let me know when she's awake and available. She is alive. Everything's fine. But that was one of those like, whoa, wait, what? Moments that we had. But now, no big deal. And he said that before. Like, the thing that's bothering me today is probably going to be no big deal a month from now. And so yeah. We've had a lot of things that we thought were big deals that now are just like, meh, it's a thing that happens.
That's amazing. That's amazing. But yeah, well, it's a good time to say I'm here right now with intimacy coach and educator and author Rena Martine. She's got a new book out called The Sex You Want. Glad to get to meet you in person. It is something interesting that stuck out to me with that description of him and you and your different times when you met, of like you going, I want to do non-monogamy, not poly. He was kind of doing the poly. So was there any conversations about like, oh, we get to only do poly once you finally like have romantic feelings for someone else?
No, because, as for me, it came out of the blue. It's not like I was on an app trying to meet people. This was like somebody I met very organically and I'm like, oh shit, I want to date her.
Right.
And when he had been practicing poly when we met, he was doing kind of the solo poly thing. So he didn't have a primary partner. He did not want a primary partner, but he had these kind of, coexisting relationships and people he dated, some for longer terms than others. But he wasn't talking about them to each other. Like he was very autonomous in that way and was just like, I'm not going to be monogamous to you. You're not going to be my girlfriend kind of thing. And at the time when we met, I was like, I don't want a boyfriend. I'm coming out of a marriage. I want my autonomy. I want to have separate relationships too. So we both wanted the same thing. He had already been practicing it. And then, as the universe happens, it's like, hey, you two are going to fall in love and you're going to want to be together. And then that happened. And then the pandemic hit, which caused us just by definition to close up a lot. And then for the first time, we started dating together. And then, and now we are here today where we're poly, but hierarchical. So everyone knows that, push comes to shove, he is my priority. We spend holidays, with our families. I go see his family. So for all intents and purposes, we are a traditional couple in some ways, but yeah, we don't live together. or yeah, maybe we're not a traditional couple, but yeah, he is my person. My cat had to have surgery recently. He's coming with me to the vet, right? He goes out of town. I'm the one like taking care of his cat. So he is my person, but we have other people who are people to us, but they're not our people in that same way.
When you all go on dates together, like do you either y'all have like a distinct kind of roles? Like, are you like a certain type and he's a certain type, but together it's like it's a great date for that third person to be on?
Oh my God. Okay. So yes, Well, and it's not these prescribed roles. It's just because of who I am and because of who he is. And I am definitely the louder one in the relationship. And so I'm the awkward one at dinner who's like, blah. And so, you know, when we've had like group sex situations before, I'm the one who's like, I'm the consent fairy. Is everyone okay? Are we checking in? You good? You good? You good? Are you sure you're good? Like kind of thing.
I just thought that's the role of the person with the pink hair in a in an orgy pile. It's like, who has the pink hair? That's the consent fairy. Okay.
Yes. Yes. And it's like, you know, I am that person, and my partner, you know, when we're on dates, he's a lot more cool than I am. Like I'm not cool at all.
He's the smooth talker.
Yeah.
When he speaks, everyone's definitely listening.
Well, they're definitely listening because he is kind of soft-spoken, actually. And so you kind of you have to lean in to listen. But he doesn't. He uses fewer words and is a lot more deliberate about the words he uses, whereas I just won't shut the fuck up. So.
Same. That's my role as well. I feel like I need to entertain.
Yes. Fill the empty void.
And would y'all date like couples together or solo? You know, single people or whatever came about?
Yeah, mostly just single people.
Okay.
Yeah.
I also like I'd overheard like the play parties. I think like you know kind of made a little reference to that too. Was that something you started going to with him originally?
That was something that my ex-husband had no interest. I don't even think we talked about it because he was very, very clear that he only wanted monogamy, and even the idea of a threesome, he's like, too complicated. Why? So
I'm working so hard just to get you off. Like,
that's a whole other story. I'm like, you're giving him a lot of credit there. But there's a whole chapter in my book on that.
Can't wait.
Yeah. Anyway, but no, this was like a bucket list thing for me. Like, fuck, I want to go to a sex party really bad. Yeah. And so that was already on my agenda. One of my very dear friends was kind enough to say, like, I'll go with you to one, Rena. Female friend, totally platonic.
Sure.
And luckily for her, I met my now partner, and he was like, fuck it. And he had never been to one. And so we went to one together, which I describe in detail in the book. And it was a terrible sex party, like absolutely terrible.
Oh, do tell.
Okay. So I had been told about this one by someone I know who is very involved in all the play parties here in LA. And she had said, you know, don't get there until after midnight. And I don't roll to things after midnight unless I've been like out at something else first. And my partner, he's kind of an early bird too. So we're like having a late dinner, or we're like going for drinks. We're just killing time until after midnight. Get a nap
in at like 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock.
Yeah. Like, okay. And so we take an Uber, we pull up to this nondescript building in East LA, which I'd been to crime scenes nearby there in the last few years. Like, no joke. No joke.
You're like 2007. There's a double homicide the one corner over.
Right. And I literally told the Uber driver, I was like, can you wait until we're inside before leaving? Because it was desolate there. Yeah. And
was the name of the party manslaughter? Because maybe that could...
No, and I won't repeat the name of the party here, but if you know, you know. It's an emotion that is spelled differently than the emotion. So if you're listening to this and you're like, I think it might be that, you're right. Okay. But not that I was worried what was going to happen at the party, but I was like, if we have the wrong venue, or because it looked like a closed building. And so, you know, door opens, we're in this little lobby, they check us off the list, and we walk in, and it kind of looks like what you would imagine, I don't know, like in Napoleon Dynamite, the prom, like, or a generic like high school prom location.
Everyone, okay.
There's like a stage and like, you know, kind of like a wooden dance floor area. But there was nobody there. And on the left side of the room, there was an all-you-can-eat Indian buffet. I shit you not. Right.
Why?
I know. I mean, the smell. And so I'm walking in. There's an all-you-can-eat Indian food buffet to the left. There is a woman behind the bar area, which, as you've probably experienced, it's either they provide the booze or you bring your own, and they kind of hold on to it for you. So we'd brought our whiskey. We checked it in with her, and we're like, where the fuck is everyone? Like, it's after midnight at this point. And we come to find out that after midnight, everyone's downstairs where the playrooms are. So there were people there, but they just weren't upstairs. And So that was our first entry. And I said to him, let's just be wallflowers. Like, no expectations. My first time going, your first time going. And he was like, absolutely fine with that. And because I gauged pretty quickly that these were not our people. They were very like normal suburban kind of people. And I'm like, okay, we went outside. They have a smoking patio there. And so we started chatting with a few couples. And I was like, these aren't the kind of people I would ever hang out with socially. It's just, we didn't have a lot in common. And I'm not judging, but I'm like, these are not my people. And yeah, just a different vibe than us. And so I knew pretty quickly that I wasn't going to be going back there. Okay. So I think in my head, and I didn't do this consciously, but in my head, I was like, I'm never going to see these people again. Fuck it. So I tell my partner, like, let's go fuck on the huge mattress downstairs. It's like a boxing ring size. And everyone's like watching. I was like, let's go do that. And so we do. And, there are people watching. But we start doing the kind of thing that we were doing more of at home at the time, which is like, stop, no. And like a little bit of play fighting. And me being completely oblivious to play party etiquette and not knowing that if people hear a woman saying no and stop, they're going to intervene, which they did. And I was like, just kidding. It was a joke. Like, no. I was just playing. Like, this is just my thing. And I was like, oh God, okay. And so then we went into a private room and finished. And then we're like, all right, I think we're good. Let's bounce. So that was the play party.
Did it check off some boxes for you though? Like the first time fucking in front of people?
What's really weird is I've realized, because I've been to a lot of good play parties since then.
Happy for you.
Yeah, thank you. That I'm actually not as much of an exhibitionist as I thought I was. So the idea of people watching me doesn't get me off. And in a way, like, it makes me more focused on my partner when I do it. And everyone else just kind of disappears, which I'm like, well, then what's the point of me going here? And I go to fewer and fewer now, primarily because I'm like, actually, I don't find a lot of pleasure in watching other people, and I don't find a lot of pleasure in being watched. And now I just run into colleagues every time I go to play parties, and I'm like, I don't want to fuck in front of like people I work with. And so, I'll go just to really be in community. Like, I'm that person. And then sometimes I'll meet people and be like, hey, do you want to like go somewhere else from here? And I tend to go to a lot more women-centric parties now on my own, or, with friends or people I'm dating. And yeah, because I think a lot of people assume that because my partner and I are not monogamous, that we want to swing with other couples. And we don't. And that's not us. And so a lot of parties, that's kind of the default assumption when you walk in the door. And so it's been a little tricky to find spaces where that isn't the case.
Do you find that you are dating outside of your relationship more women or pursuing more women than men?
Yeah, pretty much only women.
Only women. I got the one that I need.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing is that I'm good when it comes to cisgendered men. Like, I'm pretty good, but so I date historically, and as it's been so far, cis women, trans women, and non-binary folks who are mostly assigned female at birth.
Yeah. So the femininity. Yeah. The femme-centric play parties, those I feel like are in such high demand. How do you find them?
Yeah, so there are a few flavors of that. I talk about a few of them in my book, but Skirt Club is, pretty much if you are a bisexual, or I'm going to quote them, bi-curious woman and are pretty femme, that's kind of the place for you. And they operate events all around the world. And it's really catered for people who are either late bloomers in exploring, or, are kind of nervous about doing it for the first time. And so they make it a really safe space. And yeah, I've gone to many of their events, and some of them aren't even full-blown play parties. It's like a little mixer, and you get to meet people, and they have games that you play. And so those exist all around the world. They tend to be pretty cisgender centric. A
lot of, I think as Genevieve has described it, like it's a party for like bi women who have a guy at home.
I'd say that's the majority. The first event I ever went to, every woman who I just happened to make conversation with that night was married to a man. Yeah. And so that was kind of the default. But I've been to a lot of her and their events that I've met people who like, yeah, I actually always identified as a lesbian. I'm actually dating men for the first time now, or people from all walks of life. So I don't want to stereotype what they're doing, but there's that. And then here in LA, there are a couple parties that I go to that are hosted by Justine Cross, who's a dominatrix here. And so,
Both been on this show.
oh my gosh.
2 for 2 so far. Okay.
Oh my God, how funny.
Genevieve and Justine, yeah.
Amazing. And so Justine has BDS Femme, which is a play party for women. And so cis women, trans women, you just have to identify as a woman, and it's the place for you. And then she has one called Chroma that's basically for anyone who is not a cis man.
Yeah.
So you can be assigned male at birth, and maybe you identify as non-binary or
trans men can
trans men can come, trans women so she has that too. Both of those tend to be more kink centered. So I have yet to find like the perfect play party that is women focused, that's a bit more queer, a bit less cis focused, but isn't so kink focused. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely.
So I feel like if we could take some of the great parts of all the parties I mentioned and put them in one place, that would be like the party to end all parties.
Yeah.
But as of right now, you kind of have to pick from the buffet and what you want.
Well, I feel like the more intersecting, for lack of better language, feel free to correct me, but like intersecting like minority identities you have, like that's less and less people like that could go, and then you still have the people who want to go to a play party, can afford that party, and are free that night, right? So it can be hard to when you want to like overlap like enough of those things together.
And
but it totally makes sense.
Are expensive. I mean, the good ones are expensive.
Yeah.
The big ones are expensive, and so it's also understanding that, you know, especially if we're talking about certain parts of marginalized communities, like where is their space to go, right? Where is a place that they can go that isn't catered toward financially affluent people?
That's definitely another element at play. Do some of the parties you go to offer like volunteer opportunities, like where you can volunteer for your ticket? You know, like work the door, do the bartending or something. Yeah,
I know that some of them do offer volunteer opportunities in terms of door person, barkeeper, right? Barkeeper, bartender, or being, you know, a consent or guardian there. But yeah, I would imagine though that they're going to pick people who they already have a relationship with and who they trust based on the nature of the space. But yeah, you raise a good point, which is there are probably ways for you to go. But then at the same time, it's like you're the hired help there, right?
So to speak. I mean, I guess depends on like how they structure. I know like a hacienda, like bartending shifts will be like 2 hours, and if the party's like 6 or 8 hours, like you get a good time out of it. Or the guardian shifts are like an hour, but it is interesting because there's also a level where like if the party's too cheap, I don't know that I trust it. I remember pre-COVID times there was a party. It was a kink party at a bar. So I don't think you could like play, but it was like a kink party, and it was $5. Has like, I don't know, you could beg that off the street in an hour. Is like, I don't know if is that. I'm all for affordability and accessibility and what, but maybe we could raise it above $5.
Or it's like you have something that's an entry point like that isn't a play party where you get to meet people, and then you have, you know, someone who's like, anyone who wants to come back to my place after this and do the less G-rated version of this, there's a place to do that. It's just, you got to know the right people. And I know there's some good like threads on Reddit to kind of find those people. Yeah. And I know some people in LA who've created their own, you know, WhatsApp thread of whose house are we going to this weekend type of thing.
Well, so many people, you know, do ask for whatever type of party they're looking for. They're asking, how do you find a play party? And, you know, I think it's interesting because I think the best ones do some kind of screening to some extent, whether it's a non-play event or an application or whatever. But even to get to that point, people don't know. What are ways you might tell people?
Yeah, I memean, that is one way to go. There are also, like Justine Cross, she offers like a Play Party 101 kind of course that you can take to learn about things. I think it's hard if we're talking about men, like cis men who are like unpartnered. I'm like, I really just want to go to one because I don't know if this has been your experience, but most play parties are like either you can't come unattended or we have such a limited number of tickets.
Or your tickets
are twice as much.
Yeah.
So that's tricky too. And I can understand as a woman, like I understand why that is done, but also it puts men in this position where it's like, I have to come and I can't be a creep, right? Which that, of course, no one should come and be a creep.
But if they're white knuckling it, like I feel like that's almost where mistakes happen.
Yeah.
Where I think I see some guys or I witness or hear stories where I think that guy has had this negative effect, but it came from this place of like trying not to fuck up that you then fuck up.
Yeah.
You know, it's this nervous energy of like, I don't want to, but then we sense that nervous energy and that's uncomfortable too. Like you got to be able to come and be chill.
For sure.
But I, at Hacienda, like I've heard about parties having those policies, but since they've always been like whatever, it was always just like you had to come through a recommendation. So there's like social accountability.
Yeah.
So if I fuck up, like somebody else is going to get a phone call, and that's why I'm like picky about like who I refer, because then I know if they do something at a party I'm not at, I'm getting a phone call. I could lose my invitation privileges, something like that, right?
Right.
And I think when you cultivate a good orgy population, it kind of works itself out that you don't need to be so weary. Like everyone pays the same price at Hacienda, regardless of gender, partnered, unpartnered.
Yeah.
And I think that only comes from like if you've like culled a good population or list or whatever. But I know like not every community gets to, has the benefit of like building that or whatever.
It's hard. And it's like, okay, well, you build the party that you wish existed, right?
Yeah.
And so if you're listening to this and the party you want to go to doesn't exist, find your people and try to build the party, build it and they will come. Haha.
And if you're a group of femmes who want to have a party in LA, like it sounds like what you want, maybe we all need to link.
Hit me up.
Which is also the name of a party in New York.
Oh my gosh, really? But
The Very King Party in New York, yeah.
Yeah, invite me, but I probably will not fuck at your party based on all the reasons I just said. But I'll be a really big cheerleader.
Well, I was going to say, like, you're seeking, like, I wrote down just while you were talking before, like, you're seeking out, like, femme parties, but again, you don't feel like that exhibitionist streak is really there. So is it, again, to, like, being community? Is, like, being at an orgy a way to be in community for you? Yeah.
And it's really, for me, the conversations that I have with the people before and after, because, for so long I felt like I didn't have my people. I didn't have people who I could have openly sex positive conversations with. And this is really, my journey. And so one of my favorite parts of going to play parties is the part before and the part after, where you're like swapping, hey, I'm going to go to be in this city. What are some fun places I can go to? Or conversations with DOMs about the work they do with clients who are trauma survivors. I mean, just really fascinating conversations with people. And then sometimes, I will meet people and connect with them. And I'm like, I would like to go out on a date with you sometime, but we're not going to fuck here, kind of thing.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
You've had like such a journey, just even when you were like, I didn't have anyone sex positive to talk to. I know you were having discoveries like in your earlier monogamous married times of questioning even the concept of monogamy, but was sex positivity something instilled in you back in your 20s? Again, I don't remember the timeline, but I think 20s is safe to say. Were you seeking that out? Were you conscious that like, I don't have anyone I can really talk to about sex?
Yeah. I mean, I discovered just the concept of polyamory in my late 20s because I met my first poly person, who's still a good friend of mine to this day. And he gave me like Esther Perel's book, Mating in Captivity, and then just like told me about polyamory and like, yeah, there are people who do this ethically. And I'm like, what? Are you fucking kidding me? And so at the time, I was super stoked on this. And then I started actually trying to find poly people, and it was very difficult. And now it's like I hear people complaining the opposite way. Like, who are monogamous, they're like, why is every dude on the apps poly? Like, and so it's like, Yeah, what a time to be alive now. But after going out on dates with like 30 different dudes and asking every single one the same question on said date, even if I knew it was somebody I didn't want to go out with again, hey, what are your views on monogamy? And not having a single one of them say that they were interested in anything other than monogamy. I was like, all right, well, guess I'm gonna be alone forever unless I just like conform. And so I did. And then, started practicing unethical non-monogamy. And that's when I landed myself with a very good therapist who, I came to and was like, you need to fix me. Like, there's something wrong with me here. You need to make me want monogamy. I have this really good life. And I need you to like help me stop cheating, essentially. And she was like, I mean, she didn't say this the first day, but over the course of our work together, she convinced me like, you're not broken, Rena. You're just wired differently. And that's okay. Because for as long as I can remember, I've struggled with monogamy. And now I realize, yeah, I'm just different. And this is an orientation for me and not a choice.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
When in the earlier times when you're struggling with monogamy and don't realize that you're wired differently, don't even realize there's really this valid other option, what's like going on in your head? Because I've heard people say they've been like, quote, like prone to cheating.
Yeah.
Is it what's going on in your head? Like, yeah, during that time period.
I think it's a matter of craving intimacy, not even sex, but just craving intimate connections with other people. And yeah, you can have those in platonic friendships, but there's something different about like sitting cross-legged on the floor, looking across from someone and having a moment where it's okay to then like kiss in that moment. And I would fantasize about that, people who like I'd have crushes on people while I was in law school and just wondering not what it would be like to run off and marry this person, but like, wow, like what would it be like for us to have a proper date and really connect and then be allowed to take it a step further if we wanted to. And so that it was not the sex per se, but really just different forms of intimacy that I wanted.
Were you seeking intimacy outside of the relationship for like to fill in a gap or looking for additional?
It was more to fill a gap. Like we were very good friends.
Yeah.
And we were good travel buddies and we were pretty good roommates. Like, and he is a good person. And so I don't want to, talk shit about him.
Sure.
He's a good person,
Yeah.
And, but we just went from being romantic to platonic and I craved romance and that's what I wanted. And those were the needs that I was filling.
Was there was there ever something outside the first 3 dates? Was there ever something carnal and very intimate going on? Like, or was it kind of quickly platonic?
Oh, and in our relationship?
Yeah.
No, I mean, our relationship was never built on sex. Okay. But we hit a point a few years in, and I now in hindsight can kind of see where that drift started. Like, this is going to come out of left field. I fell into an oven while on a girls' trip. He just put his mic down.
It's just so that I have to shut the fuck up and listen.
I fell into an oven while on a girls' trip to Palm Springs.
Wait, is this what girls' trips involve? Sorry.
No, feel free to interrupt.
I didn't know there were so many ovens on the...
Yeah, I know. Well, okay, long story short, because people are like, how does this happen? How does this happen? We're all drinking mimosas, there's like a dozen of us. And I went inside. So we're staying at this condo. We'd been going in and out of the pool and everyone's hanging out on the balcony of this condo. And I'm about to go inside to go pee. And my sister, who is part of, the dozen of the ladies, was like, oh, would you mind checking on the flautas that are in the oven? Because we bought all this food from Costco. I was like, sure. So I opened the oven door. This is the part where people are like, I don't actually want to know the details here. So do you want to know what happened?
I would love to understand the physics of falling into an oven.
Okay. All right. So I'm like, and the flautas were just kind of sitting on the rack, on the grate in the oven. There was no tray or anything. And I am like, all right, where are the oven mitts in this joint? But it's like some Airbnb condo and there weren't any. And there were no like towels in the kitchen other than paper towels. And you might be wondering, Rena, couldn't you have just gone into the bathroom and gotten like a hand towel? yes, but hashtag fucking mimosas, right? So I'm like, nah, this will be quick. Like, I'm the person who like uses my bare hands to like flip tortillas on the stove. Like, I'm that person. And so I was like, I'll just, kind of reach in and gingerly roll these over. And because it was a tile floor and we had been going in and out of the pool all day, as I was reaching into this oven, I lost my footing and I slipped and I fell. Anyway, first trip in an ambulance, first time ever having morphine. And I spent a year in recovery, in burn recovery, because I had burns on my arms, in occupational therapy. And during that time, my then husband was amazing. Like he would come with me to all my doctor's appointments with like the burn specialist, because he was like, okay, I'm taking notes. Like, I want to make sure this is all good. Like, he had his like own little kit with everything he needed, because I couldn't change my own bandages because they were on my arms. And so he became my nurse. And I think that is kind of when things changed for us, is that, he's taking care of me. I am wounded. And so if I had to kind of figure out and give him some grace here as far as what might have happened, perhaps that's when things just, the frequency of sex started going downhill. But again, our relationship had never been built on sex to begin with.
Were you finding yourself less turned on by him after that?
Yeah, I mean, it just neither of us was really making the effort to do anything. It was like, we are two friends and you take care of me and we cuddle and we are affectionate, but we are not sexual. If that makes sense.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I was wondering if maybe there's anything about like someone taking that much care of you
that changed it for me.
Yeah.
I think it really changed it for him. And, this was a conversation that I would normally bring up as like, hey, we're not having sex. Like, hey, I'm not having orgasms, like kind of thing. And this, I talk about in my book, because I was shamed for like needing vibrators and that kind of thing. So there are other things that were happening in our sex life which were not awesome. But at the time I thought, well, is this enough for me to leave? Right. And so I stuck around a lot longer and, I think married somebody who I didn't have that much sexual compatibility with, even when we were having sex, because he was a really solid, great guy. And yeah.
Do you think there's any element of solid, great guy, it's just sex? Why do I want to trade in all this great guy, caretaker, has got the thing, will change my bandages, good cuddler, travels well? Why would I want to trade all that in for better sex? Do you think that's at all at play? And do you think that's something a lot of other women are out there doing?
Absolutely. Yes. A lot of us are staying in relationships where it's like, well, I can't be too picky kind of thing, right? And really the problem lies in this, that we're not actually, many of us aren't taking the time to determine sexual compatibility with somebody. We're placing weight on other measures of compatibility. And when you think about it, sex is the thing that distinguishes friends from romantic partners, right? Unless you're on the asexual spectrum. Right. So, that's the caveat. I'm going to put that aside for the time being. But sex is what makes us like lovers. It's what distinguishes coworkers and friends and family members. And so yet it's one of the last things that people seem to prioritize in terms of gauging compatibility with one another. And
it's also what we've decided to use as the metric of when something's serious or not, is when we don't have sex with other people.
Yes.
I don't know why sexual fidelity is the thing that like made this more. Oh, are you guys serious? Oh, you're fucking other people. So you're not serious. I'm very serious about this person, and I fuck other people. Yeah, and so I'm gonna like definitely botch this paraphrase here, but please. I'm gonna quote like our hero Dan Savage, because. But he says, on the one hand, sex isn't so important that if you end a relationship or decide not to date someone because of lack of sexual compatibility, that makes you some sort of freak or pervert. But at the same time, it's so important that if anyone dares do it to someone else, it's the end of your relationship. Mm-hmm. And so we're holding these two contradictory views of sex at the same time. Yeah. And people, I say, fucking do it soon. Like,
sexual compatibility is going to be a lot more important than watching the same or enjoying the same reality TV shows. Like, this is a metric of getting to know somebody. And so this whole like make him wait kind of thing, I completely disagree with. Like, have sex as soon as you want to, but
as make him wait for as long as you want to. Jeez, I've made women wait just because that's what I wanted to do, right? Like, do it when you want to do it, but don't do it because of some weird fucking rule. It's outdated,
right?
Yeah,
right. And it doesn't have to be like, you know, okay, we're going to intercourse right away. Like, get sexual. And that can be like a hot makeup. Like, there's so many ways, or even talking about it. Like, I tell folks, you know, talk about sex like way before you get into the bedroom. But like, do you have any kinks? What are your views on monogamy? Like, all the things, right? And there are ways, because some people say, well, I don't want to have sex right away. I want to build up to it. Cool. Yeah. Figure out other ways to determine sexual compatibility then. And I give people a lot of ways to do that in my book. So I'm just going to plug that real quick.
Of course.
Yeah.
On the kind of settling for like the guy who checks all these other platonic boxes. I mean, I think it's also like just a sad state of the options out there where they go like, I've dated so many shitty dudes who made me come.
Yeah.
I'd like a guy who treats me decently. And then it's like, it breaks my heart that I feel like there's so many chicks who have to who are like picking between someone I think is attractive and is hot and exciting and someone who like is a decent human being to me.
But think about it this way. Say you are the guy who's the nice guy, right? Who like, I've been chosen because I'm the nice, safe option. How shitty is that for you to know that this person is not fuck yes about me? That is,
I mean, that's what, like, one of my big fears is someone who, I mean, I've got my own, you know, body dysphoria issues and whatever. And, but so for a long time, and sometimes I still go into it, is I get worried, like, is someone into me right now because of the personality? I know it's great and all. I mean, and some people go, no, Billy, they like you despite your personality.
But
fair. But the idea of like I want to know someone wants to fuck or is maybe interested in fucking me before I said anything funny or nice to them.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, and so I think sometimes I've said like, oh, I have the type of body where like no one looks at me and goes like, I gotta fuck that guy. It's like, I got the body where someone goes like, I could fuck that guy. Let me hear like his politics or something first.
But I mean, I don't know. I'm very much of the mind that like thinking about the best lovers people have had and the best lovers I had, that they're normally not the folks with perfect bodies. They're the people who are comfortable in their bodies and who know what they're doing and who you've got really fucking good chemistry with. Yeah. And if somebody is not a fuck yes about you, and I'm not saying you directly, but about one, right? But about you, you deserve that. So when I tell folks, when people are like, well, I don't want to hurt him or her, right? It's like, don't you think they deserve to be with somebody who is a fuck yes about them?
Yeah.
Like, take you out of the equation. Like, if you really care about this person, give them the space to find someone who's like just so excited about them, because that person is out there.
Mm-hmm.
And so coming from a place of compassion, because that kind of pity, like that is not what you do to people you love.
It sucks. I've been on, it's not a fun feeling, especially when you find out, because like ostensibly you go, this person's fuck yes about me. When you find out that they were not just, oh, things slid off. No, they never really were fuck yes about you. That's a drop that blows.
Yeah.
You know, it's like you've been robbed of whatever history you had together. It's all fake now.
Right. Right. And you feel like kind of, and I know everyone's throwing around the term gaslighting all the time, but I mean, you can feel gaslit. You can also feel like you can't trust yourself anymore,
which then fucking hinders me for the next relationship or the next move or whatever, where now I'm like double guessing, like, are they just being nice? Are they this? Or, you know, are they settling for me again? And it's not fun for anyone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And, you know, I will say that when my ex-husband and I split up, which was a result of, hey, I'm not wired for monogamy, and him being like, hey, I am, he did not shame me for that. And he's like, I actually, like, I want you to be happy. And that is so great and mature. And so I say this like yeah, we had some compatibility issues, but in terms of like, if you really love someone, you want them to be happy.
Yeah.
Whether that's with you or without you. And so if you are someone who's sticking around in a relationship with a person because they're the safe option, like if you really love that person, what is it that they deserve at this point?
Yeah. That's a beautiful sentiment. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. That was well put. Before we go, I just want to let you tell people about your book that's out, The Sex You Want. Yes. I think you described it in one podcast as it's a self-help book, but it's not like other self-help books.
Yeah.
Tell me why.
Well, for one, it's narrative driven. So instead of being written by a PhD and talking about things from a very theoretical perspective or creating avatars of fake people to kind of fit a lesson plan, this book is different because it's illustrated through the stories of actual women. So myself, clients I've worked with. It's also different in that I actually give you recommendations, like go download this app, and I give you by name, like buy this product, and I give it to you by name.
You getting a cut?
I'm not. And that's why, like, I'm not doing product placement. I'm not getting a cut from these companies. I'm not like, and use discount code shameless at checkout. Like, this is no, like I don't do that in my book. But
I know that code.
Yeah. So I err on the side of like, dude, no one's telling us, like, people are in theory are like, have great sex, love yourself more, but no one's telling us how to do the damn thing. Mm-hmm. And that's really what makes this book different. Is I'm like, go out and do this. I give you scripts to use. I tell you the products to try out. I try to take the guesswork out of this for you. Another way in which it's different is like I cover, there's a whole chapter on female sexual fluidity where I talk about Skirt Club, for example, and women who are like, hey, I'm a late bloomer. How do I start to date women? I talk about that. There's a chapter on non-monogamy. There's a chapter on kink and BDSM, right? So topics that normally would not make it into just kind of a general sex and intimacy book and would typically be siloed into their own book. Like, well, you got to go get a book on polyamory to learn about this. And maybe you don't need to know that much about it, but you just want like a little intro to it. That's what this book is. It's different lessons. What makes it different too is that the first third of the book is all about empowerment and your relationship to yourself. Second section is about how you relate to other people in relationships, dating. And then we don't even really get to sex until part 3.
Okay. Because
I don't believe in just like, here are these positions for you to use before going through, like, do you actually feel okay in your body? Mm-hmm. Right? So instead of giving out Band-Aids to people, I'm like, let's assess the wound and actually clean it out. Let's start with your mind and then work down into your body and then look at how you relate to other people. And only once we've gotten that part down can we start talking about how you can fuck better. So, yeah.
Rena, this was so much fun. Where can people go find you, follow you? There'll be a link to your book in the show notes.
Awesome. Yeah. Find me at renamartine.com or on Instagram. And it's _Rena.Martine _.
You said Rena.Martine? Mm-hmm. And then another underscore?
Yeah. Some asshole took my name.
Who
never uses Instagram. So,
same.
Yeah.
At Billy Presida, they're squatting.
Yeah.
I'm Billy is Presida. What is this?
This is somebody named like Renato Martinez who has not been on Instagram in years. And I sent him a message like, please. And he hasn't checked it because he hasn't been on Instagram in years.
Meta, give it back.
Please. I'm begging.
You banned my The Billy Presida. What? Because I put a microphone out of my pants? Come on.
Oh.
But anyways, Rena, this was so much fun. It was wonderful to meet you. And why don't you go ahead and say goodbye to everybody?
Bye, everybody. Stay curious, stay shameless, and keep having fun.
Wait. Don't go anywhere. There's more. Can you believe it? There's more of me and Rena Martine. If you just listen to a few things, okay? Some business and then more. And then it's done. And then you go on to the next podcast or the next episode of The Last of Us. Or maybe this episode ends at just the right time that your car is parked at that place where you're going to do the thing with the person. Or if you're really lucky with the persons. But for now, let me say that the best place to share your thoughts on this week's show is in the episode discussion channel in the Champagne Room. Yeah, baby. Over 800 whoreheads in there. Link in you know where. You can always share your thoughts, your questions, your criticisms, your titty pictures, whatever, to manwhorepod@gmail.com. Need some bad advice? Shoot me an email. Let me see what I can do for you. I give sincere bad advice. It's not funny, haha, comedy bad advice. I mean, I will sincerely give you advice, but it will be possibly not good. I don't legally have to tell you that, but I feel like I should. The 10-year podiversary for this show comes up in like 2 months. It's April 16th, and I want nothing more than to have 500 Patreon members at that point. Let me get $2. Bruh, lady, humanoid, let me get that $2. If that feels like a low number to you, fine. Sign up for an annual membership. It's like $20. Let me get $20, as the Fugees say. One time. Link in the schnotes, or join up at patreon.com/manwhorepodcast. Now I'm going to play a teaser of my bonus episode with Rena Martine. That's going to come out tomorrow exclusively on Patreon for my $5 and up fan whores. Oh, and also tomorrow is hot moving night. We're watching Alice in Wonderland. It's going to be weird. All paid members are invited to that, 9:30 p.m. Eastern Time. It's $2. What are you doing? $2. Go do that. And stay slutty. I get called in for jury duty. How do I get on the jury?
I
want in.
Okay.
I want to say, I got a lot of time.
Yeah.
I got some time. Sometimes and I love, look at me. I have this face. I love having an opinion. Oh, please get me in there.
Honestly, the best advice I got when I was a DA, because jury selection is art, it is not science. Okay. And if you put all these people at a dinner party together, would they get along? And so I think just being
the answer supposed to be yes or no?
The answer is supposed to be yes if you're a prosecutor.
Okay.
Because you don't want an outlier who's gonna rock the boat. If you're a defense attorney, leave every fucking weirdo on that jury, because we want at least one to be totally unreasonable.
Defense daddy. Get me in there.